Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here, and I thank our host. My name is Willis Clay. I'm married for 50 years, very proud of my wife and 2 children I have. Campaigns take us to places we normally wouldn't go. It takes us out of their character that we normally have. And tonight I'm going to be out of both. A question was asked Casey the other night about Alec. He watered it down somewhat. I went online last night for 2 hours. Alec is the American Legislative Exchange Council, I think is the last words. They are a group full of lobbyists that writes legislation for our legislatures to pass into law. 104 of those committeemen are Republicans. 1 is a Democrat. But they seem to pride themselves on the fact that this is a bipartisan group. Okay? I left some literature over on the desk for anybody to look at. Go online, choose the sidebars, look at it. Casey in his first year was a member of ALEC. The first year. He wasn't ready for prime time, so he needed support. So it is not a organization that looks out for the middle class, working class, or anybody else. It's an organization that looks out for corporate interest, period. He wants to champion himself as being a fighter for the middle class. He hasn't demonstrated that in the past. In his 2 years of legislation, he passed or introduced 6 bills. 4 of them, I understand, were signed by the governor. Neither bill had any indication or anything at all that it was a bill that would help the middle class in any way, shape, or form. So he's not a person that's going to represent you as a middle class is what he wants to say. I think I've done enough damage, so 30 seconds. Thank you.
Mr. Kozlowski.
Thank you. First off, I do want to thank the League of Women Voters today for sponsoring this forum. Not too often do the folks of Ashtabula County get an opportunity to hear from the candidates, let alone see their faces before you see their name on the ballot. So I do appreciate the work the League of Women Voters is doing here today so that you can certainly learn more about the candidates. Again, my name is Casey Kozlowski. I am running for Ashtabula County Commissioner, seeking to replace Joe Morosky, who earlier this year announced that he would not be seeking re-election. Thank you. Most recently, I had the privilege of serving as the state representative representing the 99th House District, which included all of Ashtabula and northern Trumbull County. I certainly pride myself in the work that I did during my time in the legislature. I actually sponsored 7 pieces of legislation during my tenure, 4 of which were signed into law by the governor. And I pride myself in the fact that all of that legislation that I worked on during my time in the legislature was all generated from my constituency back here in Ashtabula and northern Trumbull County. And that's the same mentality and same mindset I hope to take to the Ashtabula County Commission. Too often you hear from candidates or office holders where their interests lie in Columbus or Washington, but you don't get to actually have somebody that's representing your local needs. And that's certainly something I pride myself in. In addition to serving as a state legislature, I served as the Board of Education member for the Pymatuning Valley School District and also a business manager for a local company here in Ashtabula County. I'm the son of a small business owner. My family have been primarily in small business their entire life, and I truly believe that is something that we could use to Ashtabula County's advantage. With the retirement of Joe Morosky on the County Commission, we will not have somebody with much private sector experience on the County Commission. I certainly believe that is an attribute and certainly a positive that I can bring to the table. There are 3 primary reasons I'm running for Ashtabula County Commissioner. First and foremost, I believe that I'll provide a system of checks and balances to the Commission. We all recall the sales tax issue that came up a few years ago where there was an attempt to push forward with a sales tax increase without a vote of the people. I stand here today reaffirming that I will ensure that that issue remains decided by the people, and should that issue come up before the commission, I will vote no, and the taxpayers of Ashtabula County will decide. Second, provide the system of checks and balances, raising questions when it's important that we need to. The partisan breakdown of the commission are 2 Democrats, 1 Republican. Certainly hope that we can maintain that bipartisan county commission to ensure that all needs are represented. Also want to certainly focus on the economic development issue in Ashtabula County. Certainly believe I have a lot to bring to the table so that we can certainly move Ashtabula County forward. And finally, the drug crime issue, an issue I'm very passionate about and have met with folks, the sheriff to local candidates, and we've certainly discussed this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Kozlowski.
Thank you.
Stephen McClure.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and ATEC for hosting this forum. So, it warms my heart that so many people turned out tonight, because we've had some other forums that maybe not so many people came to, but they were still very informative. My name is Steve McClure, and I would like to be your next county commissioner. I said those words approximately 8 months ago to the first person that I went campaigning to, and I've enjoyed every step of the way. In fact, my wife Barb has been by my side the entire time, and we've had a great time meeting all the people in Ashtabula County. And this campaign has reaffirmed what I've always felt and known about the people of Ashtabula County. There's a rich heritage and a very strong work ethic, and I was just glad that that reaffirmed what I always believed. My family, as I said, my wife Barb and I, we've raised 3 children, so we do know the problems and struggles that everyday people, working class families, face, because we were young parents at one time. We have, like I said, we have 3 children. Our daughter Nicole lives in Medina and has graced us with 2 grandchildren. And as a matter of fact, about a month ago, my granddaughter Morgan and grandson Matthew went campaigning with my wife and my oldest daughter, and they became the 4th generation of a McClure to campaign in Ashtabula County for public office. My son Stephen attends Ashcraft Workshop, and my daughter Courtney, our daughter Courtney, attends Kent State in the nursing program. My experiences, I'm a graduate of our local branch of Kent State University. I've served over 12 years as an Ashtabula Township trustee. Prior to that, I served 6 years on the Ashtabula Area City School Board, and I'm currently the Director of Operations for the Ashtabula County Board of Developmental Disabilities. I previously worked for the Ohio Department of Transportation. I'm a member of the Ashtabula County Planning Commission, and I've been endorsed by the Ashtabula County AFL-CIO Labor Council, the United Food Commercial Workers Local 880, and the Ashtabula Township Firefighters Local 2710. My platform is simple. It's people, progress, and protection. My father was in government service for 35 years, and he always said this is a business about helping people. If you don't want to help people get out, well, I'm nowhere near ready to get out. I still have a passion for helping people, and I'm committed to doing that. And I am opposed to the sales tax without a vote of the people. That should be decided by the people. Progress, we need to attain what we have, retain what we have here, and try to attract new business. We have a very strong foundation to build upon with our tourism industry and retail. And protection, we have to eradicate ourselves of the drug problem. We have to incarcerate the criminals and also rehabilitate them, and educate our children on the dangers of drugs. I'm experienced, qualified, ready, and I won't let you down. Thank you.
There's a couple questions up here about the state making major budget cuts and that it's been filtered down to local governments. What is your opinion on this? How can we maintain our services such as sheriff department or our roads and stuff? They want to know what you think about the cuts that are made from the state being passed down to the local governments. Mr. Clay.
Well, naturally, it put a bind in all forms of government, even down to your issue too. A lot of attention has been paid to the sheriff's department and the lack of jail space.
Pick your microphone up.
See, a lot of attention is paid to the lack of jail space in the county. The judges have nowhere to put them. We do need to have expanded jail cell or space. The best way I know to do, and maybe not the best way I know to do, but we need to take the monies that's generated from housing state and federal prisoners, put that into the expansion of the jail, as well as grants from whatever sources they can come from. But the main problem, I believe, is in crime in the county is the poor economic conditions. The economy is a driver.
Thank you, Mr. Clay.
Excuse me, I didn't know.
Mr. Kozlowski.
Sure, I appreciate the question. We all remember the economic downturn this country faced, not but in 2008 through 2010, and we certainly faced many challenges. Not only we personally, our pocketbooks, our checkbooks certainly witnessed the tough times, and certainly government saw it as well. The state operating budget, it has increased steadily over the last several years, the state operating budget, and certainly here in Ashtabula County, they certainly have managed to keep afloat and continue moving forward. And certainly something I want to focus on is to ensure that we continue to move forward here in Ashtabula County. But I think we also need to remember that a core component to a comeback here in Ashtabula County is going to be addressing the economic development issue. We've certainly lost a lot of the industry here in Ashtabula County over the last several years. And if we have more people working in Ashtabula County, we have more businesses, we have more tax revenue into the community, we have more money going to the local economy, and we have certainly communities thriving as a whole. So that's certainly something I hope to focus on as an economic development issue so that we can address the finance issue at the county level.
Thank you. Mr. McClure.
Thank you. Well, that's an issue that's very near and dear to my heart. As a township trustee, we had several $100,000, approximately $600,000 stripped from our operating budget at the township. And Mr. Kozlowski was a part of the state legislature because he's claiming that he's balanced the budget without raising taxes. Part of the legislature that balanced the budget, along with Governor Kasich, that balanced the budget. But that's very easy to do if you strip millions of dollars from schools, townships, cities, and villages. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. So, like I said, I'm just glad that we were way ahead of the game by planning to, not planning to get that money cut, but we were very austere with our finances as a township, and we were able to avoid this. But unfortunately, it's finally caught up to us. Our road department does have a levy on the ballot this year, and is directly responsible because of the money that was cut from the state. That's why our levy's on the ballot. We had to do something, so the budget was balanced on the back of the taxpayers and local government.
Thank you. Do you favor or oppose the charter form of government that was on the ballot last year? Mr. Kozlowski.
I'm assuming they're referring to the Ashtabula County charter change, where there was a citizens group that stepped forward and attempted to make a change to the structuring of Ashtabula County's government. I supported a vote of the issue. I certainly believe that issue should have been decided by the voters of Ashtabula County, much like several other issues that I've talked about in my platform over the last several months. There are certain issues that have to remain with the voters, and it's an issue that must be decided by them. I don't believe such an issue should be decided on, certainly, by merely county commissioners, elected officials. I think that issue should certainly be decided by the voters of Ashtabula County. And I know that was decided ultimately with that language that was brought forward, that was defeated. But I certainly believe such issue should have been voted on by the voters of Ashtabula County.
Mr. McClure.
I oppose the charter change. I just believe that people need to elect their leaders in county, city, township, school board, whatever it may be. It's government for the people, by the people, and people talk about term limits. Well, term limits come around every 2 years, every 4 years, every 6 years for judges. So I was strongly opposed to the charter reform that was on the ballot. The city had one on several years ago. I was strongly opposed to that. To me, there's more politics with that than there is with the government we have now, because if you have 7 members on a board, which I think was the case with this, I don't remember all the numbers, but 4 people can control the entire county government. You wouldn't have checks and balances. They would have appointed the auditor. They would have appointed this office, that office. You lose control by doing what they wanted to do last year, the group that supported the charter. Thank you.
Mr. Clay.
favor of the charter. Dog's on it. I was in favor of the charter. Basically, my reasoning for that is I've seen for years that the two-party system now is working so far away from each other that there has to be a middle factor somewhere. They've got into the habit of thinking they have inherent right to all these positions, these elected positions that we have. Somewhere they need to come into a realization that there's more people who don't vote, who once was party members of one or the other party, and they feel that they are not represented, and they don't have the trust in the party they once belonged to still be a member of that party. So yes, I was in favor of the charter. If it came up again, I would most likely be in favor of the charter again. Thank you.
Thank you. Got a couple questions. I'm going to kind of combine them just with the time constraints. What is in your opinion, is the most important issue, or what is the one single issue that would bring positive change to the county? And they want some specifics. Mr. McClure.
The single most important issue, well, I've said all through my campaign, unfortunately, jobs, of course. Everybody wants to have a good paying job. I remember when I got out of high school, you could walk out of high school one day and get a job at one of the plants in Ashtabula Township or even in the city, because you had Reliance and various plants, and support your family. They paid a living wage. That's what we need to do. We need to work together to try to bring business here, or industry, or even the tourism industry that we have now, to jobs that pay a living wage that somebody can support their family on, man, woman, whatever it may be. And crime, of course, is out of control with the drug problem we have. Heroin is so cheap that we need to eradicate the county, but it's all over the country. I have a friend that lives 30 minutes from Disney World, but it's important to us because it's here. This is where we live. But in Florida, he lives 30 minutes from Disney World, and heroin is rampant down there too. But we need to take care of it here in this county. As I said, we need to rehabilitate the first-time offenders and incarcerate the criminals.
Mr. Clay.
I believe the economy is the strongest thing that we need to work on. The economy does and will reduce the crime rate, so attention can be on other departments and other revenue sources to go in and do a little further. But the economy is definitely the overriding factor to improve here.
Mr. Kozlowski.
Thank you. I truly believe economic development, doing all that we can to make Ashtabula County a better place to do business. Certainly issue number one, priority number one, something we certainly have to focus on. And I think in regards to this issue, I think it's important to remember, actually, when you look at somebody and they talk about this issue, look at the record. Look at the 12 years somebody served as a trustee. I looked at the record somebody served as a state legislator, and we've all seen the unfortunate downturn in Ashtabula Township over the last several years. And we've seen the loss of ESOP. We lost 131 jobs, $7 million in payroll. We saw that company move outside of Ashtabula County. We've seen the steady decline of the mall. We've seen countless factories close their doors. Where has the local leadership been addressing the economic development issue in Ashtabula Township? And I think when you do think about this issue, certainly compare records and look at how their past experience has been on this issue. And it's certainly something I want to focus on, and I believe I've got a lot to bring to the table to address this issue.
Thank you. We're going to wrap it up real quick. We've got a couple questions. They want to know, do you support the Metro Parks levy, and do you support the Senior Services levy? And we'll begin with Mr. Kozlowski. Just a yes or no, and on both of them.
I certainly see a great benefit with the Ashtabula County Metro Parks levy. As I just mentioned, the economic development issue is a very important issue, and with our parks, certainly seeing them grow their operations, having more folks coming into Ashtabula County as a result of the park system, having more funds to develop those parks, certainly is going to be a great benefit for Ashtabula County. I strongly encourage the voters of Ashtabula County to give strong consideration to that issue. I'm not going to tell you how to vote on that specific issue, because that is something you should decide on. I'm not going to say yes or no and be nitpicked for increasing taxes, opposing taxes, lowering taxes, what have you. So I encourage you to certainly do your research on that issue. In terms of the senior levy, I've seen firsthand the benefits of the senior levy. I've rode the buses where they delivered the home-delivered meals, and I saw how beneficial that senior levy has been for the people of Ashtabula County, and especially seniors. So I encourage you to give strong consideration to that as well. We have seen how beneficial it is for the people here in Ashtabula County.
Mr. McClure.
I support the senior levy. I think it does a lot of good for the seniors of our county. And the Metro Parks levy, I think, would be a great economic catalyst, another option for us to consider. I support both the levies. I won't talk around the issue. It is up to the voters, but I personally support both of them. I'm not going to waver.
Mr. Clay.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that I should support the seniors levy. It would be hypocritical if I didn't. I am a person of nature. I love nature. I always will respect it. It provides us with all the things we need. And I'm for the Metro Parks levy.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. I never got a response from Mr. Law, so I'm assuming he's not going to attend. So we'll begin with Elaine Mastronmatteo.
That's right. Thank you very
Okay.
much. I am Elaine. I'm green, and I'm your neighbor. This year, 11% of Ohio's voters chose to register with the Democrat Party, and almost 18% registered with the Republicans, leaving over 70% who consider ourselves independent or third party. So why is it that only 2 parties control our entire electoral process? Where are the seats on the county boards of elections for independents? Where are the gerrymandered safe districts for independent and third party candidates? The Republicans and Democrats in the Ohio legislature are too busy playing power games with citizens' rights and satisfying the wishes of their big money donors to care about ordinary Ohioans. They hold power not by virtue, but by manipulating the system. They've slowly chipped away at the rights of Ohioans, leaving them with no recourse to protect their communities or hold the criminal or the incompetent accountable. Every problem that faces Ohio today has been faced and fixed by someone else. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just have to look at the most successful efforts on the part of others in similar situations. We should have universal health care. Instead, we've got an incomprehensible, expensive, for-profit system of health insurance, not health care. We should have a thriving industrial hemp and cannabis industry that would benefit Ohioans all over the state. Instead, we perpetuate a disastrous war on drugs and incarcerate some 2.3 million Americans in a for-profit private prison industry. We should have fully and fairly funded education through college. Instead, we have a student loan crisis in this country that threatens the futures of our college graduates. We should have renewable energy that's environmentally safe. Other countries are making huge advances in eliminating the need for dirty fossil fuels. Yet I'm the only candidate here who objects to fracking and seeks to throw off the iron grip of the oil and gas industry. The technology is there. What's lacking is the will. And what removes the will to legislate for the people is the influence of money. So, while I hope my opponents are good men, I know their parties are corrupt. And by corrupt, I mean that they've allowed corporate money to fund their campaigns and corporate insiders to write legislation in their favor and to the detriment of the people. As we watch more of our rights get stripped away, whether it's home rule or voters' rights or female autonomy, we feel more and more helpless to do anything. So that's why I'm here, to speak for us and to let you know that if you want a representative that does not take corporate donations, who will not be corrupted by big money lobbyists, and who will legislate purely in the interests of the people of Ohio, then I'm the only one. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael O'Brien.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the organization of this event this evening. My name is Michael O'Brien. I'm a son of a fireman and the father of a Marine. I'm a graduate of Warren John F. Kennedy High School, a graduate of Youngstown State University with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and a father of 3 children. My entire adult life has been dedicated to public service. I was a probation officer in juvenile court for 11 years in Trumbull County Family Court. I was elected to city council and served for 11 years in the city of Warren. I was elected county commissioner and served 11 years as Trumbull County Commissioner. And I was elected mayor of Warren and served 2 terms, 8 years. I've been honored to be elected, and I've been honored to be re-elected for 30 years. I feel with that legislative and administrative experience as a councilman and as a county commissioner, I can hit the ground running to serve the people of the 64th District as your voice in Columbus. During the times as I served as a county commissioner and mayor, we restored courthouses, constructed county jails, implemented the first 911 center in the history of Trumbull County. I worked with the Ashtabula County Commissioners in constructing the first Lake to River Greenway Trail connecting Ashtabula County and Trumbull County in Orwell. All during those times of working as an elected official, every year we balance our budgets, and especially in 2008 and 2009, during the worst recession since the Great Depression. As a result, I've been hired and rehired. Ask the Chamber of Commerce. I've been bestowed an honor as the only elected official in Mahoning Valley to be awarded by the Chamber of Commerce as the Public Official of the Year and Business Advocate of the Year. Ask the labor unions of the Mahoning Valley. I've been endorsed by every labor union in the Mahoning Valley. Ask both newspapers, the Tribune Chronicle and the Youngstown Vindicator. I've been endorsed by those newspapers, not only in this election, but for the past 30 years. As a state representative, I wish to restore, as the question was earlier, to restore the resources that were stripped by the loss of local government funds from the counties, the cities, and the townships over the years. Ladies and gentlemen, those funds are mainly used for safety forces, police and fire. My name is Michael O'Brien. I've been honored to be elected and re-elected, and I'd love to serve as your state representative in the 64th District. Thank you.
Thank you. The minimum wage in Ohio increases in January. Do you consider $8.10 an hour a living wage? Ms.
Mastronmatteo. Elaine Mastronmatteo. No, I really don't. I would like to see $15 an hour. 2 of our largest employers in this state, Walmart and McDonald's, can well afford it.
Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you. I agree with Ms. Mastronmatteo on the increase of the minimum wage. I agree with the fact that $8 an hour or $8.15 an hour is not a living wage. I'm not certain. I'm sure that'll during the sessions will be negotiated, but I'm not quite certain that I agree with the minimum wage at $15 an hour. But I'm sure that something less than 15 and obviously something more than 8. Thank you.
Thank you. What is your position on fracking and injection wells? Would you allow them in state parks and state forests? Mr. O'Brien.
I'm in favor of fracking. I am closely, and by the way, in fracking, I'm in favor of fracking under the obvious guidelines of the Department of Natural Resources and now EPA. I am also in favor of fracking with those same guidelines in state parks and in public grounds. However, regarding injection wells, I am not in favor of the institution of injection wells. I'm from Warren, and we've had some issues with the result of injection wells in causing some earth tremors. So I'm not in favor of the injection well industry as much as I am in favor of the fracking industry. And it's obviously both those are under the auspices of the Department of Natural Resources and the Ohio EPA, who are very excellent in their professionalism.
Ms. Mastronmatteo.
I am opposed to injection wells for sure. I don't see why we should take other states' waste. It's going to stay toxic forever, and it's not going to stay where they put it. Concrete casings do degrade. It's a fact. The industry has polluted the area. They've been careless. There's not enough oversight. There's not enough staffing to watch this industry, which has so many accidents. Fracking itself contributes to global warming with methane emissions. It's very dangerous. It's not perfected. If it's that safe, let's track it. You can inject a dye into wells, and we can see exactly who's responsible when toxins permeate our water table and our groundwater and kill our cattle and our kids and our future.
How do you feel about the cuts in money to education? What can be done about the rising student debt for higher education? Ms. Mastronmatteo.
I believe in the creation of a state bank. I think that the state could make low-cost loans available to students. They could encourage reasonable rates at college. We do need to take some of that money and put it in our schools. We need to invest in our schools. This is our future. These are our kids. This is our Ohio family. The proceeds from such a state bank would be reinvested in the school systems and in lending money to other students.
Mr. O'Brien.
I'm the father of two students that have enormous loans, one at Ohio State and one at Kent State. And I agree that the absurd rates and the absurd idea that your child, congratulations, I have a job, and the next day you receive your bill from your institution. We're looking at a $1 billion rainy day fund with no answers. Your fracking is your economic development throughout Ohio. There's funds available there. Somehow there could be a bank to decrease the interest or decrease the funds that our poor students who are trying to just get on their feet, trying to buy a house, trying to continue their adult lives, and faced with those enormous loans and debts that will carry on for 20 years.
Thank you. Have either of you, of the candidates for the 64th district, signed a no new tax pledge? Mr. O'Brien.
No, I have not signed a new tax pledge. And I will say something. When I ran for county commissioner in 1993, I said, if I'm elected, I'm going to raise your taxes. Because in Trumbull County, we didn't have a sales tax. I imposed a sales tax. With that sales tax, we restored the courthouse, built a county jail, built the 11th District Court of Appeals that those judges work in. We continued to construct a bike trail. We built a NeoCap building for low-level offenders. We brought cyber age of technology to our buildings. We did that and funded that for 15 years. And all those buildings were complete and constructed with the sales tax, what was equal to most of the counties in Ohio. So I did not sign a no tax pledge, and I think that, as County Commissioner McClure said before, right? You have taxes, you're a good steward of the taxes, you do what you're supposed to do as an elected official, and the people have the sense of enjoying that and enjoying the prosperous activities. And I am in favor of the Metro Parks levy and in favor of the senior citizen levy, even though I wasn't asked that question.
Well, so am I. So am I. And I'm not going to sign a no to new tax levy. I think that one of the major things that we have to do is gain revenue for our state programs in a sensible way and allocate resources properly. And acting like the best thing that we can do for people is to cut their taxes is just wrong. We owe each other a social safety net. We owe each other care and compassion. We owe each other respect. We owe the future. And we can't get some of the things that we owe it to ourselves to have by cutting taxes. So I think that gaining revenue is important. I'm not going to say that that's not my job. It is. It will be. To gain revenue in sensible ways and to allocate it properly for the best interest of the people of Ohio.
Thank you. Candidates for the 64th district, Elaine, Mastronmatteo, and